Welcome to this deep dive. As parents with middle school on the horizon, we're all thinking about the financial side of education. There's this source we're looking at that lays out a roadmap.
Mhm.
And it's not just about saving for college, though, which everyone talks about. This is
Yeah.
like a whole plan starting way back in elementary and going all the way through high school.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how they reframe the whole conversation about funding education.
Hmm.
They really emphasize that, financial literacy isn't a subject. You don't teach it, you build it.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a behavior that you instill early on.
Yeah, because it's not like when your kid turns 18, all of a sudden they just magically understand money.
Exactly.
This source even says there's a link between how you do allowance early on and how much your kid could earn later in life. Did I get that right?
You absolutely did.
Yeah.
They cite studies showing that even small amounts, if kids have allowances tied to chores,
Yeah.
they end up making more money on average over their lifetimes, like 15% more.
Wow.
It's not about the money itself. It's about understanding that connection between effort and reward.
So it's deeper than just like saving up for that video game or whatever.
Much deeper. They're building a mindset.
Mm.
The source talks about how financial literacy, as they define it, it's like a combo of knowledge, skills, and attitudes.
Hmm.
Knowing how interest works is one thing,
Right.
but having that discipline to save and the confidence to actually make decisions about money, that's where the real magic happens.
So how do they say parents should actually implement this? Because give your kid an allowance. That's pretty vague.
Oh yeah, they get very specific,
Yeah.
which is helpful. They advocate for a system that evolves as the kid grows.
Okay.
So early elementary, it's basic chores, small amounts.
Got it.
You focus on earning and saving.
Yeah. Makes sense at that age. They're not paying bills or anything.
Right, exactly. And then as they get into middle school, which is, what we're talking about today,
Right.
that's when it gets interesting. They recommend you start bringing in the concept of budgeting.
Okay.
Even give them a little more autonomy.
Like,
Like, instead of just buying all their school supplies, give them a budget.
yeah.
Let them decide.
Interesting.
Do they want the fancy notebooks or the generic ones so they have more money for something else?
Oh, I see.
It's those real-world decisions that build, financial muscle.
I love that. It's not just giving them cash, it's giving them the power to actually choose and learn.
Exactly.
Now, the source also says you've got to constantly reassess your budget,
Yes.
especially as kids get older. And any parent knows expenses change. But what makes this time period, these middle school years, so important?
Well, you're moving from a time where childcare might have been your biggest cost
Yeah.
to a time when it's extracurriculars, technology,
Yeah.
and, preparing for education choices.
Yeah.
It's not just needing more money, it's needing different types of money
Right.
and having it in the right spots.
Right. Because suddenly it's not diapers and daycare, it's travel soccer and that laptop they need for homework.
Exactly. The source gives a good example. We talk about how the cost of those activities has gone way up, and it's not just the fees themselves. It's the travel,
Yeah.
the equipment uniforms, all that stuff can add up.
And that connects back to what we were saying about letting kids have control over some of their budget.
Exactly.
If they realize choosing a pricier activity means less money for other things, it helps them learn those trade-offs.
Absolutely. It's about making them a part of the financial decisions. And this is where the source's emphasis on communication comes in.
Mhm.
Having honest conversations about the family budget,
Even with younger kids.
even with younger kids, can make a big difference.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, the source also mentions researching different types of schools,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is a big choice.
Huge.
We often think academics first,
Right.
but the money part is a whole other thing.
It is. And it's often the hidden costs that really get people.
What do you mean?
Everyone focuses on tuition.
Right.
But what about all the little things that add up?
Yeah.
Uniforms, fundraisers, school trips, tech fees.
Hmm.
These can be very different between public, private, charter schools.
So it's not enough to just look at the big sticker price. You
No.
really have to understand the whole system for each school.
You got it.
What are some of the less obvious costs they point out?
One interesting one is the expectation of parent volunteer hours.
Oh,
Sounds great on the surface,
right.
but for working parents, that time could mean losing income or paying for more childcare.
Wow. I never thought about it that way.
It's a real financial trade-off.
And they really encourage families to do this research early, like even in elementary school. Why is that so important?
Because it gives you time to plan. If you know a certain type of school is the goal,
Yeah.
you can start factoring in the costs right now.
So it's about being proactive, not waiting till the last minute and getting surprised.
Exactly.
Now, I know this source focuses on K through 12,
Right.
but college savings are on everyone's mind. How do they approach that?
It's woven throughout. The message is start early,
Yeah, okay.
even small amounts, and use the power of compounding.
They have this interesting tip about using those decreasing childcare costs to boost college savings.
Yes, it's a smart strategy. As those daycare bills shrink,
Mm-hmm.
resist the urge to just spend that money. Redirect it straight to the college fund.
They even say set up automatic transfers.
Yeah, take the decision out of it.
Out of sight, out of mind, and into your kid's future.
Exactly.
Now, they also say research scholarships early,
Yes.
years before college. Why is that helpful?
It's about understanding what's out there and maybe even shaping what your kid does to align with scholarship opportunities. Some scholarships require years of involvement in certain fields.
So it's not just finding money later, it's making choices now to boost those chances.
That's a proactive approach.
And speaking of proactive, they don't shy away from the tougher stuff.
Like what?
Wills, guardianship, life insurance. It's not fun to this about, but why do they stress doing this now?
Well, the reality is, as your kid gets more independent, those safeguards matter even more. Imagine something happens to you.
It's hard to think about.
I know it's not pleasant, but who steps in? Who makes decisions for your child?
That's a sobering thought.
It is. But having a plan gives you peace of mind.
It does.
And they go beyond just saying, get a will. They talk about choosing a guardian,
Right.
documenting your wishes for how your kid is raised, and making sure your life insurance actually covers their needs.
It's taking responsibility.
It is. Even for the unthinkable.
It's a tough conversation to have, but it's necessary.
It is.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to the theme of this source.
What's that?
Planning ahead takes the stress out of the money part of your kid's education,
Oh.
so you can focus on what matters, their growth and development.
That's so important. And I think it's a good place to pause.
Okay.
We've covered so much, from allowances to college savings to guardianship, but there's a lot more to this source.
Picking up where we left off, let's talk about how the whole digital age impacts family finances. It's a big part of this source.
Yeah, they have a whole section on it. And honestly, it's an area where I think lots of parents probably underestimate the costs. I mean, we grew up in a different time.
Exactly. Back then, a computer was a luxury, not a necessity. Now tech is tied to education,
Right.
and the costs can really sneak up on you.
So it's more than just buying a laptop and being done. What are some of the hidden tech expenses?
They break it down into a few things. First, the hardware itself, laptops, tablets, printers,
Okay.
maybe even special software if your kid needs it.
Yeah.
Then there's the ongoing costs,
Like what?
internet service software subscriptions, those free apps that have in-app purchases. It adds up
And it's all changing so fast.
constantly. What's new today is old tomorrow.
Right.
The source calls it tech creep. It's like lifestyle inflation, but for gadgets.
Mm-hmm.
We get used to a certain level of tech, and then the next thing comes out.
Yeah.
And suddenly we feel like we need to upgrade.
It's like keeping up with the Joneses, but digital. So how do we manage this? They give some advice.
They
What did
do.
you get?
One thing is to involve your kid in the decisions,
Oh, interesting.
especially as they get older.
Oh.
Instead of just surprising them with the latest thing, have a conversation
I like that.
about needs versus wants.
Mm-hmm.
Do some research together. Set a budget.
It goes back to that financial literacy idea we were talking about.
Exactly. Giving them ownership within limits
Right.
is a great way for them to learn.
And also set realistic expectations.
Yes. Maybe they can't have the best of everything, but they can choose where to prioritize.
Now, they also talk about parental controls. At first, I thought that was just about screen time,
Right.
but they connect it to money, too.
Absolutely. Parental controls can help you manage those sneaky digital expenses.
Like what?
Think about it. Educational apps, streaming services,
Okay.
even games often have ways to spend money inside them.
Yeah, and it's easy for that to get out of control if you're not careful.
They give an example of a parent who was shocked to find hundreds of dollars in charges
Wow.
from a free game their kid downloaded. The kid was making purchases without understanding real money was involved.
Oh, no.
Parental controls can prevent that.
So it's not about being Big Brother.
No.
It's about having safeguards while they learn.
Exactly.
Now, let's shift gears a bit. They encourage saving for things like vacations and experiences. Seems off topic, but I bet they connect it back.
They do. They argue that investing in family time is just as important as investing in education. Those memories, those moments of connection, they shape your kid just as much as any classroom.
It's about the whole person.
Right. Not just a future employee.
Exactly. And they say these experiences don't have to be fancy.
Not at all. It's not about luxury cruises. It's about bonding as a family.
Right.
Camping, museums, even just a day trip.
It's about those stories you'll tell later.
Exactly. And they even suggest putting it in your budget, like a line item,
Really?
just like you'd budget for school supplies.
Interesting.
You can do it for adventures. Makes it more likely to happen.
And it shows your kids it's important.
It's a priority.
No money talk is complete without debt.
I know.
This source is clear. Get rid of high-interest debt. ASAP.
And they're right. High-interest debt drains your resources.
Yeah.
It's money you're paying someone else instead of investing in your family's future.
It's like running a race with a weight tied to your ankle. You might get there, but it'll be tough.
Exactly. They even say even a little bit of high-interest debt can cost you thousands in interest over time.
Ouch.
That's money that could be going to your kids' education, your retirement. Those family trips we were talking about.
So it's not just being debt-free, it's freeing up cash flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do they recommend for tackling debt?
Good question.
They say two things. First, focus on paying down the highest interest debt first.
Okay.
Might mean some sacrifices in other areas,
Right.
but it saves money long term.
Yeah.
Second, explore refinancing things like mortgages or student loans.
Even a small interest rate drop can help.
It can make a big difference over time.
It's like a tune-up for your budget, making sure everything runs smoothly.
Exactly. And they point out this is ongoing. As your finances change, you got to reassess.
Now, circling back to college savings, we touched on it, but they really hit hard on increasing contributions as childcare costs go down
Like a handoff.
from one phase of life to the next.
As those daycare bills shrink, don't just spend that extra money. Put it right into college savings.
Automatic transfers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Takes the thinking out of it.
Like paying your child's future self.
That's a good way to put it.
Now, they also mentioned planning for transportation. Seems early for middle schoolers.
They're thinking ahead. As your kid gets older, transport costs add up.
How so?
Bus fares, carpooling, maybe driving lessons, and a car later on.
Okay.
Start thinking about it now, even if it's years away.
So have a long-term plan. Don't just react when the need hits.
Exactly. Might mean factoring in a bigger car purchase.
Yeah.
Or setting money aside specifically for those driving lessons.
Makes sense. And speaking of thinking ahead, they also talk about taxes and retirement savings.
It's easy to forget about those with the day-to-day costs of raising kids.
It is. But they remind us that securing our future helps our kids' future, too.
Right? It's like that oxygen mask on the airplane.
You got to take care of yourself first.
Exactly. They specifically say to claim the child tax credit and the dependent care credit.
Okay.
Those can save families money and keep up those retirement contributions.
Even when education gets expensive.
Yes. It's about finding that balance.
Supporting your kid without sacrificing your own security.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about something we all probably struggle with sometimes. Insurance.
Oh.
They say it's important to review and update your policies as things change.
It's easy to just set it and forget it.
It is. But as your family grows, your needs change.
So what types of insurance are we talking about?
Well, with kids, health insurance is key.
Yeah.
You want a plan that covers checkups, vaccinations, specialist visits, and of course those unexpected medical bills.
Those can really throw off a budget.
Big time.
Yeah.
They also talk about homeowners or renters insurance,
Okay.
making sure you have enough coverage,
Yeah.
especially with all that technology we talked about.
It's about having a safety net,
Yeah.
just in case.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And once your kid starts driving, you'll need car insurance. They even mention umbrella insurance.
What's that?
It's extra liability protection.
Wow, there's a lot to keep track of.
There is. But the point is to understand your needs.
Yeah.
And pick policies that actually protect your family.
It's about peace of mind, knowing you've done what you can.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really is about having the whole picture.
Yeah.
This has been great. So much to think about.
And remember, this was just for you.
Right. For us parents getting ready for middle school.
It's about giving you the info you need to make those smart money choices.
Exactly. Choices that help our kids and the whole family.
Yeah, both now and down the road.
If we had to boil down this whole source to one sentence,
That's tough.
what would it be?
I'd say planning ahead takes the stress out of paying for your kids' education. It lets you focus on the important stuff,
What's that?
nurturing their growth, helping them become who they are.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We've covered so much today. From allowances to college, even updating wills.
It's a lot to think about.
But hopefully it gives you a place to start. Before we wrap up,
Okay.
let's leave you with a question based on everything we've talked about.
I like it.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self one money tip, knowing what you know now,
That's a good one.
What would it be? Think about that as you keep going on this journey.
Yeah, it's a journey for sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been great.
It's been fun talking about all this with you.
Absolutely. And remember, this is just the beginning.
Right. Financial literacy, it's not a one-time thing.
It's something you keep learning.
And we're here to help along the way.
Every step.
Until next time, happy planning, everyone.